Hey, what's happening, guys? I'm Nick with Classic Nation, and today I'm super stoked. I've got my hands on my brand new TKX transmission purchased from Modern Driveline. It's a Tremec 5-speed manual overdrive transmission that I'm going to be dropping in my 65 Impala Supersport. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the transmission and why I decided to go the route that I did. Stay tuned. All right, let's get into it. Now, first, you guys might be wondering, why did I decide on this transmission versus a 6-speed? Well, the reality is for the driving that I do, I don't need the double overdrive. I don't need a 0.8 something and then a 0.5 for my driving style. I don't. I want one overdrive highway gear, and that's going to be good for me. So a 4-speed and then 2 overdrives didn't add that much of a benefit over the 5-speed that I have here for the driving that I do. The second thing is size. Anybody who doesn't really want to cut up their floorboards, one of these 5-speed options, be it the TKO or now the TKX, saves you a ton of room where you might have otherwise had to modify your transmission tunnel to fit the T56. So a good option if you're not trying to cut your original muscle car and dice it all up beyond the point of no return. So that's one thing. Now, from a power standpoint, this thing handles 600 foot-pounds of torque. Tremec also claims that this will handle 8,000 engine RPM, and it can actually shift at 7,500 RPM. So for me, and I suspect for anybody who's just doing, aggressive street driving, this is going to be plenty tough and plenty capable. The other thing that's cool about this is it's not a top-load design like the old TKO. Now, from a strength standpoint, this is what's called an end-load design. You see the mid plate here in the middle, and both the case on the front and the back connect together. Well, that's for strength and rigidity. Apparently, the gears can be a lot wider, and it provides a lot more strength in the overall housing, less flex than the old-school top-load design. So the guts get loaded in this transmission from the ends, and it's a full casting all around the front. So for strength and stability, that's an advantage. One of the big things for me, to be honest, that made me decide on this transmission over the old TKO was the shifting technology that's used. Now, the old TKO uses single cone synchros. You can certainly get those carbon lined that increases it, but one of the big complaints about that transmission, if you even call it a complaint, is that the shifting felt notchy when compared to, say, a T56 that went into gear and just shifted a lot smoother. Now, this transmission borrows that same type of technology with multi-cone synchros and hybrid synchronizer with 2 different types of metals there that make it a lot smoother, a lot cleaner, a lot more crisp. I've actually gone through the gears a couple of times on this now. I know you're not supposed to do that too much, but feels really smooth, and I can't wait to get this into the car. So that was one of the big things, is having really good shiftability. I didn't want it notchy. I didn't want it to be hunting for gear. So that is one of the big improvements with this transmission versus that old TKO. Now, from a size standpoint, this fits exactly where the old TKO went. So anybody who's deciding to upgrade their TKO to this TKX, it pops right into the same spot, even though it's physically a little bit smaller. So it's smaller around this top area, so we've got more tunnel clearance, like I mentioned before. It's also done away with some of the bracketry towards the back of this area where the tail shaft is. So a little bit better room for exhaust, maybe an X-pipe, things back there. But it's also still got the same versatility of multi-positions for the shifter. So shift position here, up here in the middle position, or even a shift position in the back. It's got the same mechanical and electronic speedo output, just like the old TKO did, and it also has the reverse light output so that you can get your reverse lights when you're in reverse. Now let's talk about gear ratios. That's the other thing that I really liked about this transmission, is it had the overdrive gear that for me seems to be the sweet spot with my 373 rear gears. Now, this comes in both a close ratio and a wide ratio pattern. Now, the close ratio pattern is 287 first, 189 second, 128 third, and then a 1-to-1 fourth. And the wide ratio pattern is the 327 first, 198 second, 134th third, and a 1/4. And both of those you can get with either a 0.68 or a 0.81 overdrive, and I've obviously chose the 0.68 for my version. So close ratio with a 0.68, it's going to be the exact combo that I need for my Impala, and I'm so stoked. Now, this particular transmission I got from an outfit called Modern Driveline. I did a ton of research, all the companies that handle these Tremec transmissions, all their distributors, and I ended up going with Modern Driveline for a couple of reasons. First, I made a couple of phone calls and talked through some of the service departments to ask what they thought, give some good recommendations. And I really liked how everyone at Modern Driveline that I talked to knew what they were talking about. They had these cars, they drove these cars, and in fact, Modern Driveline, the only thing they do is 5 and 6 speed transmission conversion. So they knew exactly what I was doing and what I needed to get there. In my particular scenario, I'm going to be converting from an automatic, so that's going to be changing pedals. That's going to be changing new hydraulic master cylinder. We talk through mechanical versus hydraulic clutch, all of those things. And they were able to put a package together for me that's going to make it so that I don't have to hunt down a ton of other parts. And these guys have done these installs themselves, so they know exactly what they need, and they know exactly how to point me in the right direction. So I'm looking forward to having that support. Should I need it, I suspect that I might, when it gets time to put this thing in, which is going to be the next step. Guys, if you want to see the rest of this install, I'm going to document the entire thing. Literally, from the time that I get the car on the lift, I start pulling out the old stuff, pulling out my old console, pulling out the old pedals, putting everything in new. Literally, start to finish. I'm going to document the whole thing in a couple of videos in the series, show you everything it takes to convert your muscle car that's an automatic right now into one of these 5-speed bad boys. So if that's something that you want to watch, you want to stay in tune, maybe you have plans to put a 5 or 6 speed in your muscle car, this might be a good chance to ask any questions and see how I do it. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, and better yet, leave a comment or a like down below. Thank you so much, guys. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks.